Welcome to another in our series of Safety at Sea videos presented by the Storm Trysail Foundation. Man overboard and man overboard prevention is a broad topic and will be covered in a series of educational videos. This video focuses specifically on how to return to and recover a crew member who's fallen overboard while sailing. Man overboard practices have advanced to focus on staying close to the victim as a primary goal. If you lose visual contact with the victim, the problems of recovery increase enormously. If there's any sea at all, it's very easy to lose sight of a person's head between waves. The actual return and recovery techniques will vary based on your boat, the wind and sea state, the crew, and your point of sail. But you need to practice the techniques we will discuss today on your own boat, keeping in mind the principle to stay as close to the victim as possible. The most useful return and recovery is the quick stop, although there are others.
Man overboard!
The quick stop is named that because that's exactly what it's designed to do. It's the simplest way to slow down and stop the boat, allowing you to stay as close to the MOB as possible. Once stopped, you can maneuver for a safe recovery. Today, we will discuss the upwind quick stop return and recovery, the downwind quick stop return, the upwind quick stop with the life sling for return and recovery, some variations in these methods for different conditions. In this video, I'll be using the common sailor's jargon MOB, M-O-B, to refer to a man overboard. Let's look at the upwind quick stop in brief, then we'll go into more details. At position 1, the boat loses the man overboard. At 2, the boat quickly tacks, leaving the jib aback. This dramatically slows the boat and keeps it near the victim. At 3, the boat reaches away and, in position 4, falls off to a run, dropping the jib, then jibing at position 5. Once well below the victim in position 6, the boat comes up to a close reach and sails to the victim, trimming and luffing the main to control speed as necessary. At position 7, the boat slows to a crawl and connects with the victim through a thrown line or by coming alongside. Then the crew recovers the man overboard. Now let's look at some of the steps in more detail. As you can imagine, falling off a boat that's underway is a frightening experience for everyone. There are several immediate responses you should do at position 1. As soon as you see someone fall over the side, yell, "Man overboard!" in your very loudest voice. And then, don't be afraid to yell it repeatedly to get the attention of everyone on the boat.
Man overboard!
The first person seeing the accident frequently becomes the pointer. I can't overestimate how important this task is in the recovery of a crew member in the water.
3 o'clock, 80 yards!
The pointer literally points at the victim using his or her arm stretched out in the MOB's direction. Why the arm pointing? Simple. If you're spotting the man overboard visually and you inadvertently turn your head away or a wave cuts your line of sight, the fixed position of your arm will help you keep your vision on where you last saw the victim. The other responsibility of the pointer is to communicate loudly and clearly to the helmsman the range and bearing to the man overboard through the recovery process.
2 o'clock, 50 yards. 3 o'clock, 60 yards. 4 o'clock, 70 yards.
You can use distance in yards or boat lengths and bearing from a clock to angle off the bow.
40 yards.
But develop a simple, clear system when you practice.
12 o'clock, 1.5 boat lengths. Man overboard! That's a flotation up!
Immediately upon hearing "man overboard," the nearest person to the stern, and it may be the helmsman, pulls the pin to release the MOM 8 or tosses a similar self-launching marker. At the same time, cockpit crew should grab whatever flotation devices are at hand and throw them overboard too. Boat cushions, life jackets, water bottles, whatever is close at hand that will float. These items will give the man overboard options of things to grab and hold on, while also creating a field of floating items to help spot the man overboard. every boat's GPS or navigation system should be equipped with a man overboard button. Whether it's at the helm position, navigation station, or both, hitting the MOB button is a must. When pushed, the MOB button locks in your current position as a new waypoint, overrides your current course settings, and gives you the range and bearing readings back to the MOB waypoint. You can imagine how critical this is at night or any time should visual contact with the man overboard be lost. All the immediate responses at position 1 really only take a few seconds, so you will not be far from your crewmate in the water.
Ready to attack! Keep the jib back! Hold on!
The next step is to simply tack the boat, but do not ease the jib sheet. This will slow the boat in place, almost upwind of the man overboard. The boat is in a hove-to position and will move only slowly. At this point, you can exhale, as the boat is no longer moving away from the victim, and you can begin to organize the return of the man in the water. Note, when the boat swings quickly into the wind, onboard crew members may be caught off balance. To prevent having a second man over the side, the helm should yell, "Hold on, coming up."
Hold on!
Do this loudly to alert everyone on board. With a person in the water, you need to have all your resources available. Don't be afraid to have your engine started in case you need it. Check that there are no lines over the side before putting it in gear.
Check that all the lines are out of the water.
Racers, remember that the racing rules of sailing allow the use of the engine when recovering a man in the water. Once the boat is slowed and before turning back to the man overboard, the helmsman or tactician should take a moment to make sure everyone on board knows what's about to happen and they are in the proper places.
We're going to start bearing down when we do.
And of course, the pointer is continually giving the helmsman input. Now it's time to reach away to begin your return to the man overboard. Keep the jib tack aback and do not release the sheet. This makes the upcoming jib douse much easier, as the sail will not fly out in front of the boat on the run. As the boat turns downwind, the helmsman needs to create 2 to 4 boat lengths of lateral separation from the MOB. Visualize that you'll be far enough away from the man overboard so you can reach up and come close to him at the end of the turn. After the helmsman bears away, the foredeck crew gets ready to drop the headsail on deck or furl it if so rigged. Also, the main sheet trimmer works with the helmsman and trims the main sheet as needed. The helmsman should run downwind until you're about 1.5 boat lengths to leeward of the victim. Jibe on this run. Make sure the main is fully eased out after the jibe, especially if you're close to the man overboard. Harden up to a close reach to sail up to the victim. The helmsman should work with the main sheet trimmer to trim or ease to control speed. As you approach the victim, make sure you're moving slowly. You do not want to sail by the man in the water. You may want to approach at the speed of 1 knot or so and flog the main once you have made contact. Do not rely on just grabbing the man overboard's hands. Toss a throw bag from the foredeck and have cockpit crew ready to heave other lines if the MOB is missing when amidships. Remember, you can use your engine to fine-tune your final approach. Make sure it is in neutral if the victim is anywhere near the propeller. Depending on conditions, you may approach the victim on the leeward or windward side. The MOB to leeward is preferred in moderate wind and waves, as the boat's leeway tends to keep the boat close to the victim and the freeboard is lower. But in heavier winded seas, the MOB to windward approach may keep the boat from falling onto the MOB. And if you happen to aim poorly or get pushed around by a wave, either side will do. As you range alongside the MOB, be careful not to hit him with the boat. During the approach, the pointer should move forward to the shrouds and continue to point and communicate with the helmsman, who may lose sight of the man overboard. When close enough, you should toss a throw bag to the victim, preferably from the foredeck, as this gently pulls them alongside. If you range alongside, be careful not to hit the victim with the boat. Slow the boat down to a crawl, then stop it once the man overboard is alongside. Crew need to make sure he does not slip away. Lives have been lost from this position.
On board.
Clip the victim to the boat with a spare tether if handy, or tie his harness to the boat with a spare line. Frequently, fully crewed boats manhandle the victim back aboard at this point. While that's fine, we will show you other recovery methods later. What if you're sailing downwind with a spinnaker up? Like the upwind quick stop, the downwind quick stop was developed to halt the boat quickly, keeping you as close to the man overboard as possible. At position 1, once the shout of "man overboard" goes out, the pointer starts his job and the crew throws flotation, especially if the man overboard was not wearing any. At 2 and 3, to get the kite down rapidly, the helmsman heads up to the close hauled so the kite streams down the leeward side. Then the crew grabs the foot at the leeward rail and the halyard comes down quickly. At 4, with the spinnaker down, the boat tacks or motors up to the victim and recovers the man overboard. Again, here it is in more detail. Regardless of whether you're sailing with a symmetrical or asymmetrical spinnaker, sail handling is very similar. When man overboard is called, the helm will call out, "Hang on, coming up."
Coming up, hold on!
Remember, a boat under spinnaker turning into the wind will heel dramatically, and you don't want a second person in the water. Turn the boat sharply to close hauled with the main and spinnaker luffing. Boats with symmetrical spinnakers will quickly ease the guys so the pole almost touches the forestay and tighten the foreguy.
I'm going to come up, get that pole forward, please.
The pole to the headstay.
Holding the tack at the headstay until the spinnaker is on board keeps the spinnaker out of the water and makes it easier for the crew to douse the chute. For boats sailing with an asymmetrical spinnaker, the trimmer over-trims the sheet as the boat turns into the wind. Assure the tack is not released until the chute is down on deck. Regardless of the type of spinnaker, as the boat luffs up, with the chute luffing and the crew grabbing the foot, blow the spinnaker halyard. The halyard is not just eased, but totally let off. This allows the spinnaker to fall down on the leeward side of the boat as the crew pulls the sail in and under control. Tend the halyard well and leave one turn on the winch to avoid jams at clutches or turning blocks. A bad jam during a man overboard emergency likely requires cutting the halyard. Now that the boat is on the wind and the spinnaker is under control, the helm can tack the boat upwind as necessary to the man overboard under mainsail alone or with main and motor. Once there, he executes the same maneuvers we discussed earlier to get the boat on a close reach to approach the man overboard. Start your engine, as it will be a huge help getting to windward. But before pulling in gear, make sure all the lines hang around after spinnaker douse are out of the water.
Check that all the lines are out of the water.
A fouled prop is not what you want right now. Recover the MOB as you would have in an upwind quick stop. The quick stop method can be improved by using a life sling. The life sling is very important for short-handed racers and cruisers, as you will not have a pointer or extra people to handle sails. The life sling is a floating collar-like sling with a 150-foot long recovery line, the bitter end of which is tied to the stern of the boat. It's easily deployed when necessary.
Man overboard! Flotation!
You begin a life sling quick stop the same way you would with a regular quick stop. Deploy handy flotation and tack the boat with the jib aback.
Right where it is. Keep the jib where it is.
From the jib aback position, toss the life sling out of its bag. The line will feed out by itself. You may want to start the engine here as before, but watch out that you do not cross the life sling's tow line. Circle the man overboard as usual, but leave the jib up and unfurled as you may need it later in maneuvering. Also, keep a few knots of speed on to maintain steerage way. Circle the MOB at a close distance, but you need not get close enough to hit the MOB. Keep a bit of speed a few knots. This may involve multiple circles like picking up a water skier, but just keep tacking and jibing without touching sheets. Keep an eye on the tow rope until the MOB grabs the line of the life sling. The victim can grab it, work his way to the sling collar, and put that over his head. Now, stop the boat dead in the water. You do not want to pull the victim through the water at any speed, even at 2 knots. Once you have furled the jib and dropped the main, you pull the victim to the boat and tie him to a convenient cleat. Run a halyard to a loop in the life sling line. Recover the victim by hoisting the MOB out on the halyard, nestled in the life sling harness. Here are some advantages of a life sling. You do not have to sail alongside the victim. All you have to do is circle the man overboard to have them back in contact with the boat. There's less chance of hitting them with the boat and a lower need for precision boat handling. You use the life sling as the hoisting device to lift the man overboard out of the water while maintaining continual contact. The MOB always stays connected to the boat. Also, you never have to reach down. This helps on boats with high topsides or in large seaways. Double-handers or cruising couples can more easily recover a man overboard with the life sling. The helmsman remains behind the wheel for the circles with the sheets untouched until the MOB has the line in hand. A single person on deck can hoist the victim aboard in the same sling used to recover them. Recovery variations. Here are some alternative ways to recover the person. Pulling a person out of the water over the side of a boat through lifelines is a difficult task, even for fully crewed boats. Use an open gate if you can. Boats with open or swimming transoms would seem ideal for actually getting the person aboard, but unless the sea state is calm, using the transom to recover someone can be lethal in waves since the boat can come crashing down on the person's head. If the man overboard is wearing a harness, a halyard can be clipped into the tether ring or even onto the tether itself if worn. Of course, the life sling is a built-in harness, so you can attach a halyard to it. You can put a bowline in the end of the halyard that the MOB can slip around his torso if he's conscious and not exhausted, and you have no other alternative. A halyard can be attached to a gale rider or similar drogue that is lowered into the water to scoop up the victim. This may be helpful if the man overboard is injured. On a fully crewed boat, if you need to send a person over the side to assist the MOB, make sure the rescuer is well tethered to the boat. One program recommends lowering a rescuer over the side on a halyard, and the rescuer then clips the man overboard to his harness. Both crew are then hoisted back aboard on the halyard. Normally, putting a second person over the side should only be a last resort. High wind conditions or specific boat configurations may make jibing in the middle of a quick stop circle unseamanlike. You can do a chicken tack instead by coming up into the wind and tacking over toward the victim. But you need to turn your boat through about 270 degrees to execute a chicken tack, so you have your engine ready to help you get the bow up to and through the eye of the wind. For many of today's more powerful and faster racing boats, quickly luffing for a downwind quick stop may be unsafe. In those boats, a controlled racing spinnaker drop is a safer option for the crew, the boat itself, and the man overboard. Here, the man overboard button readout is particularly critical, as you may be a long way from the victim before you stop. There are other kinds of recoveries that are more suitable for different kinds of boats, like multi-hulls and power boats. The Storm Trysail Foundation can provide you with links to materials that will assist you in MOB recovery training for your vessel and crew. Practice is key. There are many things that contribute to a successful man overboard recovery. Each boat is a bit different, and each set of wind and wave conditions are also different. You need to practice on your boat with your crew in various kinds of conditions to expand your instincts and to know your boat's behaviors. Developing these seamanship skills is critical. Go out in heavy air and practice. Put a strobe on a tall buoy and try nighttime evolutions. Don't hesitate to practice both upwind and downwind quick stop. Use a tall buoy or similar device, as a cockpit cushion will blow away too fast to be realistic. Even if it's calm out, run through the procedures we've presented in this video. If you're drifting around waiting for racing to start, put someone into the water and practice different MOB recovery techniques. but put a person overboard only in daylight hours for safety. Practice makes perfect and will save lives. I'm Gary Jobson for the Storm Trysail Foundation, asking you to share these man overboard recovery techniques with everyone with whom you race or cruise. Here's to safe sailing at sea.